Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video, I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of the Paragon Hotel by Lyndsay Faye, and this was the Tales and Teacups book club picks for the months of May and June. So you still have time to read this if you want to participate in the Goodreads discussion. I'll have everything linked down below, but I'm very happy to say that we finally have a book that I enjoyed. I feel like the first two books of this year that we chose for the book club were just really misses, and not everyone really enjoyed them. I haven't seen any reviews of this from you guys yet, but I actually really enjoyed this so much more, so I'm happy that I finally have a good book club pick for 2021. So that is good. I feel like we are finally gaining momentum on the book club picks, so very pleased about that. But basically this is a historical fiction novel with kind of a mystery aspect in here. So it takes place in the 1920s, and it follows the perspective of a girl named Alice Nobody James. And so she ends up going to Portland on a train, and she arrives there with 2 bullet wounds, $50,000 of cash in her bag, and she is on the run from the mafia. And so she ends up being kind of rescued by Max, who is one of the porters on the train, and he takes her to the Paragon Hotel, which is the kind of luxurious blacks only hotel in the city. And so while she's there is, not only do we get her kind of flashbacks of her being, growing up, eventually going into the mafia, and the events leading up to her getting shot and kind of being on the run. We also get that, but it also highlights some of the kind of racial, events of this time. The KKK is growing in numbers, and they are arriving in Portland and causing destruction to the blacks who live there. So not only so it integrates that, but then it also, there is this kid who lives at the Paragon Hotel who's black, who goes missing, and it kind of leaves everybody on edge. They're not sure if the KK is involved, like they don't know. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So there's Alice's storyline of why she's running away. There is this mystery of why this boy disappeared. There is the KKK and kind of the, horrible racial movements that were going on at this time. And there's a lot going on, but it is very well done. What I really like about this is that it doesn't shy away from the horrors of this time. It doesn't romanticize or sugarcoat a lot of the inflictions that the KKK did, just how horrible they were to other people. This book does not shy away from that, and I really applaud the author of kind of showing it as it was. So I think that's really important. And I will say that the first 100 pages were really hard to get into, especially with some of the dialogue. She tries to write it in the way that they would be talking in the 1920s, with some of their slang words and just how they would talk back then. And so it was a little hard to get my head around it, and especially when we're getting like the mafia mobster chapters, it was just like, I felt like it was a little cliche and cheesy sometimes. So that was like my biggest thing, was just the dialogue was a little bit unnatural sometimes. But I really loved the cast of characters in here. I really loved Blossom, who is a singer. I really loved Alice and just her complex background, and how her nickname is Nobody, and how she kind of changes who she is based on what she thinks people will like. Like, the analogy that I saw it as is if you listen to Mirrorball by Taylor Swift, and like changing versions of yourself to make other people happier to fit the scenario. I think like that is a good description of it. But I really loved this. Like I said, the cast of characters, everything was really well done. And then there was also like beautiful kind of prose in here as well, in terms of the narration style, aside from the kind of weird dialogue sometimes. But I felt like the narration in here was very beautiful. It was lyrical sometimes as well. And I feel like the setting in here is really interesting. This is a very interesting era in like the early 1920s, like with, Prohibition, the speakeasies, all those things was very interesting. And to do it in a place that is being kind of, in the background of this, there's these horrors of, the KKK kind of coming, and the white people not really caring about it. So I think that was a very interesting setting, and it kind of shows you why Portland is a predominantly white city, and you can see how these historical events that were kind of evolving at this time has, even 100 years later, it kind of still has that effect on Portland being a predominantly white city. So I thought that was interesting because it just shows you how much of where we are now is like very much embedded in where we were in the past, which I think is really interesting. Like our past selves, like our past, like humanity in the past is very influential in where we are now. And I thought this book did a really good job of that. I really, like I said, I think the mystery part in here was also kept this story suspenseful, and it just kept you on your toes because you were really wanting to know, like Alice would kind of figure out things here or there, and then you would get a few chapters in the past and you're just wanting to know like what's going on. But I really like that mystery aspect in here, and there was quite a big plot twist towards the end that I actually did not see coming, so that was quite surprising. And I know there was some criticism for this book that a white woman should not have wrote this story, and I do agree to some extent. I think like if it's very hard to write books that are not necessarily based on your experiences, but I feel like this author did a good job at like researching this time period and trying to do it in a very respectful manner. So I don't know, I think it depends on who you ask. I know this, like I said, it was very polarizing for some people with regards to this plot twist, but yeah, I didn't find it offensive, but I'm not a person who can judge if it was or wasn't, so just keep in mind with that. But overall, like I said, I actually really was happy with this. It started off on a rough start and I was just having a hard time, but once you get past the 100-page mark, the story really starts to pick up and it was really well done. I think this is it's like a film noir type feeling with historical fiction mixed in and kind of murder mystery as well. So if you want that type of, not murder mystery, but mystery aspect to it, so if you want to, you know, experience this, then I highly recommend you check this book out. So overall I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. The only thing is where some of the dialogue stuff in the beginning and just throughout the book was a little bit awkward, but yeah, I'm happy we finally have a good book club pick, so I'm very pleased with that. That's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you read this book and what you thought about it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.